They called her the janitor with a nursing degree. For 3 months, the Ivy League doctors at Seattle's Mercy General made Erica Mitchell's life a living hell. They mocked her limp. They laughed at her silence. They told her she belonged in a nursing home, not a trauma center. Dr. Harrison Gray, the chief resident, even bet $50 she wouldn't last the winter. But he didn't know who she was. He didn't know that the woman emptying his trash had once held the lives of an entire platoon in her hands. And when a critically wounded Special Ops captain was wheeled through those doors, the doctors froze. But the janitor didn't. Stick around, because the moment that Captain opened his eyes and saw her, the hierarchy of the entire hospital was shattered in a single second. The rain in Seattle didn't wash things clean. It just made the grime stick harder. It was 11:15 p.m. on a Tuesday at Mercy General. The kind of night where the air in the emergency room felt heavy, smelling of wet wool antiseptic and stale coffee. Erica Mitchell adjusted her scrubs. They were a size too big, bunching around her waist, making her look shapeless and older than her 42 years. She walked with a hitch in her step, a persistent dragging limp in her right leg that she tried to hide but couldn't. To the staff of Mercy General, that limp was just another sign of her incompetence. It was a weakness. She was the oldest rookie nurse on the floor, a new grad hire who had arrived 3 months ago with a resume that was oddly sparse. No prestigious university hospitals. No glowing recommendations from famous surgeons. Just a degree from a community college and a gap in her employment history that spanned 15 years. "Mitchell, for God's sake, move it." The voice cut through the hum of the ER. It was Dr. Harrison Gray. At 32, Gray was the golden boy of Mercy General. Tall with a jawline that could cut glass and a degree from Johns Hopkins, he was the chief resident of trauma. He was brilliant fast and entirely aware of it. He treated the ER like his personal stage, and Erica Mitchell was the clumsy stagehand he couldn't wait to fire. Erica didn't flinch. She picked up the tray of sterilized instruments and moved toward Trauma Bay 2, where Gray was stitching up a drunk driver with a laceration on his forehead. "I asked for 4-0 nylon Mitchell." Gray snapped, not looking up from the wound. "This is 3-0. Do you understand the difference? One is for delicate work. The other is for tying up trash bags, which coincidentally might be a better job for you." A ripple of snickers went through the room. 2 medical students, fresh-faced and eager to please Gray, covered their mouths. "The patient has thick dermal tissue, doctor," Erica said. Her voice was low, raspy, like she had swallowed gravel years ago. "The 4-0 will tear if he thrashes. The 3-0 holds." Gray stopped. He slowly lowered his hands, the needle driver clicking against the metal tray. He turned his head, his eyes cold behind his surgical loops. The room went silent. The hum of the EKG monitor seemed to get louder. "Are you teaching me, Mitchell?" Gray asked, his voice dangerously soft. "Are you giving me a lecture on tissue tensile strength, you, the woman who took 10 minutes to set an IV yesterday?" "I'm just stating the—" "Get out!" Gray pointed to the door with a bloodied glove. "Get out of my bay. Go clean the bedpans in G-Wing. That's about your speed." Erica stood there for a second. Her face remained impassive, a mask of stone. She had blue eyes that looked washed out, bordered by fine lines that spoke of too much sun and too little sleep. She didn't argue. She didn't cry. She just nodded once, turned on her bad leg, and walked away. As the automatic doors whooshed shut behind her, she heard Gray's voice, booming for the benefit of his audience. HR keeps sending me geriatrics. Someone tell me how she passed the boards. I bet she cheated. Erica walked down the sterile white hallway, the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. She reached G-Wing, the overflow area, for non-critical patients. It was quiet here. She leaned against a linen cart and exhaled a long, shuddering breath. Her hand instinctively went to her right thigh, rubbing the scar tissue beneath the scrubs. The pain was a constant companion, a burning wire running from her hip to her knee. But it was nothing compared to the noise in her head. The silence of the hospital was the hardest part. She missed the roar. She missed the chaos where orders were screamed over the sound of rotors, where respect wasn't earned by degrees, but by how much blood you could stop from leaving a body. Rough night, Erica. She looked up. It was Dr. R.S. Thorne. No relation to the other Thornes, just a tired old man, the senior anesthesiologist. He was nearing 60 with kindness in his eyes that Gray lacked. He was the only one who used her first name. Just the usual Dr. Thorne, Erica said, straightening up. Gray is a peacock. Thorne sighed, pouring himself a coffee from the vending machine. He preens, but he's good with a scalpel. He just needs to learn that medicine is a team sport. He thinks I'm a liability, Erica said quietly. You're slow, Erica, Thorne said gently, not unkindly. You double-check things that don't need checking. You hesitate. In trauma, hesitation kills. Gray isn't wrong about the speed, even if he is an ass about the delivery. Why did you come into trauma nursing so late? Why not family practice geriatrics? Erica looked at the floor. How could she explain? How could she tell him that family practice was too quiet? That without the adrenaline she felt like she was drowning? That she needed the blood to feel normal? I wanted to help, she said, the lie tasting like ash. Well, Thorne patted her shoulder. Keep your head down. Gray's filing a formal complaint tomorrow. He wants you off the rotation. If you want to stay, you need a miracle. Erica watched him walk away. A miracle. She didn't believe in miracles. She believed in suppression fire tourniquets and extraction protocols. And right now she was deep in enemy territory with no radio support. The shift dragged on. Erica spent the next 4 hours doing the work of a nursing assistant. She changed sheets, she cleaned vomit, she transported patients to radiology. Every time she passed the trauma bay, the younger nurses Jessica and Chloe would stop talking and watch her with pitying, superior smiles. She walks like a zombie, Jessica whispered loud enough for Erica to hear. I heard she used to work in a school cafeteria before this. Erica ignored them. She was checking the vitals of an elderly man in bed 4, a Mr. Henderson who had come in for indigestion. Dr. Gray had evaluated him 20 minutes ago. Diagnosis acid reflux, prescribed antacids and discharge. Erica looked at the monitor. Mr. Henderson was pale. He was sweating, but his skin was cold. My chest feels tight, Mr. Henderson wheezed. Erica looked at the EKG strip. It was normal. Sinus rhythm. That's why Gray had dismissed him. But Erica saw something else. She saw the way the man's jaw was clenched. She saw the subtle distension in his jugular vein when he lay flat. She placed her hand on his abdomen. It was rigid, not stomach rigid, aortic rigid. She felt a cold spike of adrenaline. This wasn't heartburn. Code, she whispered to herself. Then louder. I need a doctor. Jessica strolled over, chewing gum. Relax, Erica. Gray said discharge. Don't be dramatic. Get Gray, Erica commanded. Her voice changed. The rasp was gone, replaced by a subtle timbre that made Jessica blink. "Now!" Jessica rolled her eyes but pressed the call button. "Dr. Gray to bed 4. The new girl is panicking again." Gray arrived 2 minutes later looking annoyed. He had a coffee in one hand. "Mitchell, if you delay this discharge, I swear to God." "He's dissecting," Erica said, cutting him off. Gray laughed, a short, sharp bark. "He has heartburn. His EKG is clean. His troponins are negative. Stop playing house." "Look at his pressure," Erica pointed. 100/60 on the right arm. Check the left." "Why would I?" "Check the damn left arm," Erica snapped. The entire bay went silent. No one yelled at Harrison Gray. Not even the attending physicians yelled at Harrison Gray. Gray's face turned purple. He slammed his coffee down. "You are finished. You hear me, finished." Aggressively, he grabbed the blood pressure cuff and slapped it onto Mr. Henderson's left arm. He pumped it up, staring at Erica with pure hatred. He released the valve. He frowned. He pumped it again. The monitor read 80/40. A massive differential. "Back pain?" Gray asked the patient, his voice suddenly tight. "Yeah. Right between the shoulder blades." Mr. Henderson gasped. "Aortic dissection," Gray whispered. "He's tearing apart inside." "Get him to CT now, type, and cross-match for 10 units. Gray roared, springing into action. The team swarmed. The gurney was unlocked and wheeled out at a run. Erica stood back, holding the empty blood pressure cuff. As they ran past, Gray didn't look at her. He didn't say thank you. He shouted orders to Jessica and the residents. "Good catch, Jessica, call the OR. Tell them to prep the hybrid suite." Erica stood alone in the empty bay. Jessica had done nothing. But Jessica was young, pretty, and didn't limp. Erica was the invisible woman. She walked to the sink and washed her hands. The soap smelled like lemons and failure. She had saved the man's life, and it had only put a bigger target on her back. Gray wouldn't forgive her for being right. He would hate her for it. It was 3 a.m. when the red phone on the wall rang. The bat phone, the direct line to paramedics and medevac choppers. The charge nurse, a stern woman named Mrs. Higgins, answered it. Her face went pale instantly. She slammed the receiver down and hit the panic button on the wall. "Beep, beep, beep." Code black. Trauma team to the bay. ETA, 3 minutes. Mass casualty protocol. The drowsiness of the 3 a.m. shift evaporated. Doctors poured out of the break rooms. Gray was already pulling on a yellow trauma gown, barking orders. "What do we have?" Gray yelled. Mrs. Higgins read from her notepad, her hands shaking. "Military transport convoy accident on I-5. A fuel tanker jackknifed. 3 Humvees involved. Multiple ejections. Severe burns. We have 4 coming by ground, 2 by air. Military." Gray's eyes lit up. This was high profile. "Okay, people, listen up. I want the A-team. Jessica, Chloe. Mike, you're on with me. Mitchell." He scanned the room, finding Erica in the back. "You stay on triage. Keep the walking wounded away from the real doctors. Don't touch anyone critical. Do you understand?" "Understood," Erica said. The sound of helicopter blades beat against the roof of the hospital, shaking the dust from the ceiling tiles. The doors burst open. It was chaos. Paramedics rushed in, pushing stretchers. There was the smell of burnt rubber diesel fuel and seared flesh. Male 20's open fracture femur. Female 30's abdominal evisceration. Erica worked the perimeter. She moved with efficiency, slapping color-coded tags on wrists. Green, yellow, red. She stabilized a neck, here applied pressure there, moving faster than her limp should have allowed. Then the second set of doors flew open. A team of Air Force pararescueman PJs in full flight gear ran alongside a stretcher. They weren't hospital staff. These were special operators who had ridden in on the bird. "Make a hole!" one of the PJs screamed. He was huge, covered in soot. "I need an attending now." On the stretcher lay a man who looked more machine than human. He was covered in blood, his uniform shredded. But even through the gore, the insignias were visible. "Who is the patient?" Gray demanded, rushing forward. "Major Caleb Donovan," the PJ shouted. "Call sign Reaper. He took shrapnel to the chest and thigh. He's got a sucking chest wound, and he's decompensating." Erica froze. "Caleb." The noise of the ER faded into a buzz. She stared at the man on the stretcher. His face was swollen, covered in soot, but she knew that jawline. She knew the scar above his left eyebrow. 10 years ago, in a dusty valley in the Kandahar province, she had dragged that man 3 miles through hostile fire. He was the reason she walked with a limp. "Get him to Bay 1, Gray shouted. "Let's go, let's go." They wheeled him past her. Erica's heart hammered against her ribs like a trapped bird. Caleb Donovan, the hero of Operation Red Dawn, the man who had received the Silver Star, while she had received a medical discharge and a quiet retirement. She shouldn't intervene. She was the janitor nurse. She was the outcast. But as they transferred him to the trauma bed, the monitors started screaming. "BP is dropping 60 over palp," Jessica yelled. "He's coding." "Tube him," Gray shouted. "I can't see the cords. There's too much blood in the airway." Erica took a step forward. She couldn't help it. "Suction," Gray screamed. "Damn it, I can't get at the angle." The major was dying. Right there. Erica watched Gray struggling with the laryngoscope. He was panicking. He was trying to force the tube, which would tear the vocal cords and cause swelling, closing the airway forever. "He has a deviated trachea from an old injury," Erica said. She didn't realize she had spoken aloud. Gray ignored her. "Give me a smaller blade." "Stop!" Erica's voice cracked through the room like a whip. "You're going to kill him, Gray. He has a blast injury from 2014. His trachea is deviated to the left. You need to go in from the side, not the center." Gray spun around, sweat dripping from his forehead. "Security. Get this crazy bitch out of here." "He's crashing," the monitor wailed. "VFIB. Charge to 200, Gray yelled. "No." Erica lunged forward. She shoved a surprised Jessica aside. "You can't shock him. He's hypoxic. You need to oxygenate him first or the shock won't hold." "Get her off me!" Gray screamed. 2 security guards grabbed Erica by the arms. They were big men used to dealing with drunks. They hauled her back. "Let me go." Erica struggled, her eyes locked on the dying major. "Caleb, breathe, damn you." "Clear," Gray shouted. "Thump." The body convulsed. The monitor flatlined. "Nothing," Jessica whispered. "Again, charge to 300. "Gray, listen to me," Erica screamed, thrashing against the guards. "Cricothyrotomy, cut the throat. It's the only way." "Get her out," Gray roared, his face contorted with rage. "Throw her out of the building. You're fired, Mitchell, you hear me? You're done." The guards dragged Erica backward. Her heels skidded on the linoleum. She watched as the doors to Bay 1 swung shut, cutting off her view of the man she had once sacrificed everything to save. "You're killing him!" She screamed one last time before the heavy double doors of the ER entrance cut off her voice. She was thrown out into the rain. The ambulance bay was wet and cold. Erica landed on her knees, the pain in her bad leg exploding. She knelt there in the puddles, the rain soaking her scrubs, listening to the sirens wailing in the distance. She was fired. She was disgraced. But she knew one thing Gray didn't. Caleb Donovan was a fighter. And if he died on that table because of Gray's ego, Erica wasn't just going to sue the hospital. She was going to burn it to the ground. But then the side door of the ambulance bay opened. It wasn't security. It was the PJ who had brought Donovan in. The giant soldier. He looked at Erica kneeling in the rain. Then he looked at the name tag she was clutching in her hand. "Did you say 2014? The soldier asked, his voice rough. Erica looked up, water dripping from her nose. "What? You said he had a blast injury from 2014. The soldier stepped into the rain. He looked at her face, really looked at her past the wrinkles and the grey hair. He narrowed his eyes. "Wait, Kandahar. The Valley of Tears." Erica slowly stood up, wiping the mud from her knees. She straightened her back, the pain in her leg forgotten for a second. "Who asks?" she said. The soldier's eyes went wide. He whispered a single word. "Sarge." The rain was still hammering down, but Erica didn't feel the cold anymore. She was staring into the wide, shocked eyes of the para-rescueman standing before her. "Sarge," he repeated, his voice barely audible over the thunder. "Is that really you? Erica Mitchell, call sign, Doc." Erica looked at the man. Beneath the grime and the tactical gear, she recognized the eyes. 10 years ago, he had been a terrified 19-year-old kid named Miller. Private Miller. She had stitched a jagged laceration on his arm in the back of a vibrating Humvee while taking fire. "Miller," she rasped. "It's me." "They said you died," Miller said, shaking his head as if seeing a ghost. "After the IED, the report said you were med-evacuated and didn't make it." "I made it," Erica said, grimacing as she put weight on her bad leg. "But my career didn't. Miller, listen to me. Your captain inside, Caleb. He's dying." Miller's expression hardened instantly. The soldier replaced the shocked reunion. "The doctor in there, the tall one. He's losing him. He's treating a textbook patient, not a soldier." Erica said, the urgency returning. "Caleb's trachea is scarred shut. That doctor is trying to force a tube down a path that doesn't exist. He's going to puncture the esophagus, if he hasn't already." Miller turned and looked at the closed double doors of the ER. Through the glass, they could see the frantic movement. The red lights of the crash cart were flashing. "They kicked me out, Miller," Erica said, desperation clawing at her throat. "They won't listen to a nurse, especially not me." Miller adjusted the strap of his rifle, though he wasn't holding it. He was unarmed in the hospital, but he carried himself like a tank. He reached for his radio on his chest rig. "Command, this is Miller. Situation critical in the ER. Local medical assets are failing. I am initiating override protocol." He looked at Erica. "Can you save him?" "If I can get to him in the next 60 seconds, Erica said. Miller nodded. He kicked the sensor of the automatic doors. They slid open. "Then let's go, Doc. I got your 6. Inside trauma bay, the sound was deafening. The continuous, high-pitched whine of the heart monitor signaled that Major Donovan's heart had stopped. Beep. "Assistole," Jessica screamed. "We've lost the pulse." Dr. Harrison Gray was sweating profusely. His hair was plastered to his forehead. He had the laryngoscope in one hand and was frantically trying to jam an endotracheal tube down the bloody throat of the soldier. "I can't get it in," Gray shouted, panic making his voice high and shrill. "His throat is a mess. It's swollen shut." "Give me another epinephrine. Charge the paddles." "It won't work without oxygen, Doctor," Jessica cried. "He's been down for 3 minutes." "Call it," said a resident from the corner looking at the clock. "Dr. Gray, we have to call it. He's gone." Gray froze. The golden boy of Mercy General had never lost a VIP like this. The paperwork, the investigation, the failure. He slowly lowered his hands. "Time of death, 03:17 Bang! The doors to the trauma bay slammed open, hitting the walls with a crack that sounded like a gunshot. Gray spun around. "I told security to—" He stopped. Standing there wasn't just the crippled nurse. Standing next to her was the giant pararescueman Miller, and he looked ready to tear the room apart. "Step away from the patient," Miller growled. "It wasn't a request. This man is dead," Gray shouted, his ego flaring up to cover his fear. "Get out!" "You are trespassing," Miller stepped forward and shoved Gray. It wasn't a hard shove, but Gray stumbled back 3 feet, colliding with the crash cart. "Doc, you're up!" Miller yelled. Erica didn't limp this time. She moved with a terrifying fluidity. She reached the bedside of the dead major. She didn't look at the monitor. She didn't look at Gray. She looked at Caleb's throat. "Scalpel!" she commanded. She held out her hand. Jessica, the nurse who had mocked her earlier, stared at her. "Erica, you can't. You're not a doctor. Give me the damn scalpel, Jessica!" Erica roared. It was a voice they had never heard. It was the voice of a woman who had shouted orders over mortar explosions. Jessica, trembling, handed her a number 10 blade. "She's crazy! She's cutting his throat!" Gray screamed, lunging forward. "Stop her!" Miller intercepted Gray, grabbing the doctor by the front of his scrubs and pinning him against the wall. "You move 1 inch, and I will break things you need to practice medicine," Miller whispered. Erica ignored the commotion. She palpated the neck. She felt the scar tissue. The landmarks were gone. The normal anatomy was destroyed. A standard cricothyrotomy would fail because the membrane was calcified. She had to go lower. Tracheostomy. In the field. In 3 seconds. "Sorry, Caleb," she whispered. "This is going to leave a nasty scar." She sliced. Blood welled up dark and sluggish, a sign of no oxygen. Erica didn't hesitate. She put her finger into the incision, feeling for the windpipe. She found the rings of the trachea. "Retractor!" she yelled. No one moved. Erica grabbed the retractor from the tray herself, jammed it into the wound, and pulled the tissue back. She saw the white cartilage of the airway. She stabbed the scalpel between the 2nd and 3rd rings. Air hissed out a wet, desperate sound. "Tube," Erica demanded. She grabbed a size 6 tube, smaller than the one Gray had tried, and guided it directly into the hole she had cut in his neck. She pulled the stylet out and attached the ambu bag. She squeezed the bag. Whoosh! Everyone watched the soldier's chest. It rose. "Again?" Erica whispered, squeezing the bag. The chest rose again. Oxygen was hitting the lungs. "Check pulse," Erica ordered, not looking up. Jessica fumbled for the wrist. She waited. 1 second, 2 seconds. I have a pulse," Jessica gasped. "It's faint, but it's there. Sinus bradycardia on the monitor. Beep, beep, beep." The flatline was gone. The rhythm was returning. Erica didn't stop. "Epinephrine 1 milligram. IV push. Now, hang a bag of O negative. Pressure bag it. The team moved. They forgot Erica was a nurse. They forgot she was the janitor. In that moment, she was the attending. Dr. Gray, still pinned against the wall by Miller, watched in stunned silence. He had just declared the man dead. Erica Mitchell had brought him back with a knife and a prayer. Erica secured the tube with tape. Her hands were covered in Caleb's blood. She leaned down to his ear. "Welcome back, Captain," she whispered. "Don't you dare quit on me now." She straightened up and looked at Miller. "He's stable. He needs the OR. Now." Miller released Gray. The doctor slumped his face pale as a sheet. "Get him to surgery," Gray whispered, his voice shaking. He couldn't look Erica in the eye. As the team rushed the gurney out toward the elevators, Erica stood alone in the trauma bay, the bloody scalpel still in her hand. Her adrenaline crashed. Her leg gave out. She collapsed onto the stool, her hands shaking violently now that it was over. The silence returned to the room, but this time nobody was laughing. Dawn broke over Seattle, painting the sky in bruises of purple and gray. The hospital was quiet, but it was a tense, electric quiet. Erica sat in the Human Resources conference room. She had been there for 3 hours. There was no coffee. There was just a long mahogany table and a ticking clock. She had been escorted there by hospital security immediately after the surgery. Standard protocol for a sentinel event, they said, but she knew what it was. She was a nurse who had performed an invasive surgical procedure. It was assault. It was malpractice. It was criminal. The door opened. 3 people walked in. First was Dr. Harrison Gray. He had showered and changed into a fresh suit, regaining his composure. The arrogance was back harder than before, brittle like glass. Second was Mrs. Gable, the hospital administrator, a woman who looked at spreadsheets more than patients. Third was a man in a dark suit, legal. "Miss Mitchell." Mrs. Gable started sitting at the head of the table. She didn't offer a greeting. "Do you understand the gravity of what happened this morning?" Erica sat with her hands folded in her lap. She felt small in her oversized scrubs. "I saved a patient's life. You performed an unauthorized tracheostomy." Dr. Gray cut in his voice, sharp. "You are a nurse. You are not licensed to cut skin. You assaulted my patient." "Your patient was dead, doctor," Erica said calmly. "I revived him. He was medically futile." Gray slammed his hand on the table. "I had called the time of death. You mutilated a corpse, and by sheer dumb luck you got a rhythm back. That doesn't make you a hero, Mitchell. It makes you a liability." The lawyer opened a file. "Ms. Mitchell, Dr. Gray, has filed a formal report stating that you physically intimidated him, allowed an unauthorized person, a soldier, to assault him, and then performed surgery without consent. If Major Donovan suffers any complications, if he has brain damage from the downtime, the hospital is liable. You are liable." Erica looked at them. They were terrified of a lawsuit. They didn't care about the man upstairs breathing on a ventilator. "Is he awake?" Erica asked. "That is irrelevant," Mrs. Gable said. "You are suspended effective immediately. Pending the review, we will be reporting this to the State Board of Nursing. You will likely lose your license, and if the family or the military sues, well, you might be facing criminal charges." "I see," Erica said. She stood up. Her leg throbbed a dull, aching fire. "We didn't say you could leave," the lawyer said. "Am I under arrest?" Erica asked. "Not yet," the lawyer said, "but security will escort you off the premises." "I want to see him," Erica said. "Absolutely not," Gray sneered. "You are to stay away from the ICU. You've done enough damage." Erica looked at Gray, really looked at him. "You know, Gray, you're a good mechanic. You know the textbook. But you don't know men like Caleb Donovan. He would rather have a jagged scar on his neck and be alive than a pretty corpse with your signature on the death certificate. Get her out, Gray hissed. 2 security guards stepped in. They took Erica by the elbows, marching her out of the conference room, down the long hallway past the nurses' station. The morning shift had started. The hallways were full. Everyone stopped to watch. The janitor nurse being hauled out like a criminal. Jessica was there, holding a chart. She met Erica's eyes. Jessica looked like she wanted to say something, wanted to thank her, but Gray was watching. Jessica looked down at her shoes. Cowards, all of them. They pushed her through the lobby. People stared. A mother covered her child's eyes. Just as they reached the revolving doors to the street, a wall of green blocked their path. It wasn't a plant. It was 3 men in multicam uniforms. Master Sergeant Miller stood in the center. Flanking him were 2 other soldiers, arms crossed, looking like statues carved from granite. The security guard stopped nervous. "Excuse me, gentlemen. Please step aside." Miller didn't move. He looked at the guards. Then he looked at Erica. "They kicking you out, Doc?" Miller asked. "Suspended," Erica said, trying a weak smile. "Practicing medicine without a license." Miller chewed on the inside of his cheek. He looked at the security guards. "She's not going anywhere." "Sir, this is hospital property," the guard said, reaching for his radio. "I will call the police." "Go ahead," Miller said. "Call the cops. Call the SWAT team. Call the National Guard. But until the colonel gets here, nobody touches the doc." "The colonel." Mrs. Gable had run into the lobby, her heels clicking on the marble. "What is the meaning of this? Who are you?" "I'm Master Sergeant Miller, United States Air Force 24th Special Tactics Squadron," he said, his voice booming in the quiet lobby. "And the man upstairs, Major Donovan. He's not just a patient. He is a high-value asset. And this woman," he pointed a thick finger at Erica, "is the only reason he's breathing." "She broke the law," Gray shouted, coming up behind Mrs. Gable. "She is a menace." Miller stepped closer to Gray. The height difference was only a few inches, but the presence difference was miles. "Doctor," Miller said, his voice dropping to a dangerous rumble. "I was in the hallway. I heard you call time of death. I saw you give up. In my line of work, we don't give up. If you had your way, the Major would be in a body bag." Miller turned to Erica. "Major Donovan is in the ICU. He's critical but stable. The anesthesia is wearing off. We are waiting for him to wake up." "I can't go up there, Miller," Erica said softly. "They'll arrest me." Miller tapped his earpiece. "Command, this is Miller. I have the asset, Angel, secured in the lobby. Hostiles are attempting to extract her, requesting immediate intervention." He listened for a moment, then smiled. It was a wolf's smile. He looked at Mrs. Gable. "Ma'am, you have a phone call coming to the front desk. I suggest you answer it. It's the Pentagon." Mrs. Gable's face went white. The phone at the reception desk rang. It was a loud, jarring sound. The receptionist picked it up, her hand shaking. "Mrs. Gable, it's for you. It's General Holloway." The entire lobby went silent. General Holloway, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Mrs. Gable walked to the phone like she was walking to the gallows. She listened. She said, "Yes, sir." She said, "I understand, sir." She said, "Immediately, sir." She hung up. She looked at Gray, then at Erica. "Dr. Gray." Mrs. Gable said, her voice trembling. "Stand down." "What?" Gray sputtered. Miss Mitchell is to be granted full access to the patient, Mrs. Gable said, looking like she had swallowed a lemon. She is to be treated as a visiting consultant by order of the Department of Defense. Gray looked like he was going to explode. This is insane. You're letting a nurse dictate trauma care. Miller stepped aside and offered Erica his arm. Shall we, Doc? Erica looked at the security guards, who quickly stepped back. She looked at Gray, who was shaking with impotent rage. She took Miller's arm. She straightened her back, ignoring the pain in her leg. Lead the way, Sergeant. They walked to the elevators, leaving the stunned hospital staff in their wake. But Erica knew this wasn't over. Gray was a man who cared about his reputation more than anything. He wouldn't stop. And Caleb still had to wake up. And when he did, he might not remember her. Or worse, he might remember the day she failed him in Kandahar. The day she got the limp. The day she couldn't save his brother. The ICU was bathed in the soft, rhythmic blue light of the monitors. It was the eye of the storm. Outside the hospital was buzzing with rumors. The story of the janitor nurse cutting a man's throat to save him had spread from the ER to the cafeteria and up to the executive suites. Erica sat in a plastic chair next to Major Caleb Donovan's bed. She hadn't moved for 6 hours. Her leg was screaming in agony, a hot iron rod of pain. But she didn't shift. She watched the rise and fall of his chest. She watched the numbers on the ventilator. Oxygen saturation, 98%. Heart rate 72. He was alive. You really did it, Doc, Miller whispered. He was standing guard by the door, refusing to let any hospital staff enter without Erica's nod. Even the ICU nurses had to ask permission to change the IV bags. He's not out of the woods, Erica said, her voice raspy. She reached out and adjusted the blanket over Caleb's shoulder. The swelling in the trachea is severe. If he wakes up thrashing, he could dislodge the tube. He won't thrash, Miller said. He knows you're here. Even in the dark, he knows. The tranquility was broken by the sound of angry footsteps. Dr. Harrison Gray marched toward the glass room, flanked by Mrs. Gable and a frantic-looking man in a suit, the chairman of the hospital board, Mr. Sterling. Gray looked triumphant. He was holding a folder. Miller stepped in front of the door, crossing his massive arms. "Out of the way, Sergeant," Mr. Sterling demanded. "This has gone on long enough. This hospital is not a military base." "It is while he is here," Miller said, nodding at the bed. "We have grounds for immediate termination and arrest." Gray announced, his voice loud enough to carry through the glass. He slapped the folder against the glass wall. "I did a background check on your hero, Erica Mitchell." Erica didn't turn around. She kept her eyes on Caleb. "Open the door, Miller," Erica said softly. Miller hesitated, then stepped aside. The 3 administrators poured into the small room. The air instantly felt suffocating. "You lied on your application," Gray spat out, opening the file. "You listed your previous employment as school nurse and home health aide. You left a 15-year gap. You know why." He looked around the room, performing for an audience. "Because she was discharged. Psychologically unfit. I pulled the public records. She was a military nurse, yes, but she was discharged after a mission in Kandahar, where 2 men died under her care. She had a mental breakdown." Gray pointed a shaking finger at Erica. "You are unstable. You are a washerwoman with PTSD who thinks she's a surgeon. You are a danger to this patient." Erica finally turned. Her face was tired, etched with the lines of 1,000 nightmares. 2 men died, Erica said, her voice hollow. Private First Class Jenkins and Sergeant Michael Donovan, Caleb's brother. The room went silent. You killed his brother." Mrs. Gable gasped. "I held his brother's hand while he bled out," Erica said, standing up slowly. The pain in her leg made her wobble, but she caught herself. "Because we were ambushed. We were pinned down for 6 hours. I had no supplies. I used my shoelaces as tourniquets. I used my own blood to transfuse Jenkins. It wasn't enough." "Excuses," Gray sneered. "You washed out. You're a failure." "Dr. Gray," Miller interrupted. His voice was different now. Not angry, just amused. Miller reached into his tactical vest. He pulled out a thick, sealed envelope. It was stamped with red ink, classified, eyes only. "You pulled the public record," Miller said. "The cover story, the one they give to the press so they don't have to explain what really happens in the dark." Miller tossed the envelope onto Caleb's bed. "Read it," Miller challenged. Mr. Sterling, the board chairman, picked it up. His hands shook as he broke the seal. He pulled out the documents. There was a photo of a younger Erica standing next to a Black Hawk helicopter. But the insignia on her collar wasn't just a nurse's caduceus. Sterling's eyes went wide. He looked at the paper, then at Erica, then back at the paper. "My God," Sterling whispered. "What?" Gray demanded. "What does it say?" "That she was a medic. She wasn't just a nurse." Sterling read his voice, trembling. "She was the commander of the 24th Special Operations Surgical Team. Rank, Lieutenant Colonel." Gray froze. "That's impossible." "She didn't just wash out," Sterling continued reading the citation. "She was awarded the Distinguished Service Cross for extraordinary heroism. After the ambush, despite suffering a shattered femur and shrapnel wounds, Lieutenant Colonel Mitchell refused evacuation. She stayed behind to provide covering fire and medical aid to the surviving squad members, including Captain Caleb Donovan." Sterling looked up, pale. "She dragged him 3 miles on a broken leg. She kept him alive for 2 days in a cave until extraction arrived." Miller looked at Gray with a cold smile. "She isn't a janitor doctor. She is the highest-ranking medical officer ever to serve in the Special Tactics Comm. She wrote the field manual on airway management, the procedure you failed to do. She invented the protocol for it." Gray looked at Erica. The arrogance drained out of him, leaving him looking like a small, petulant child. "You," Gray stammered. Why are you emptying bedpans? Why are you a level 1 nurse?" Erica looked down at her hands. "Because when I came home, I couldn't handle the command anymore. I didn't want to be the colonel. I didn't want to make the decisions on who lives and who dies. I just wanted to wash the sheets. I just wanted to be quiet." She looked at Gray. "But I will not stand by and watch an arrogant amateur kill my men. Not again." The silence in the room was absolute. Then a sound broke it, a low, rhythmic wheezing, a cough. The ventilator alarm beeped. High pressure. Caleb Donovan's eyes were open. "He's fighting the vent." Erica was instantly at the bedside. "Miller, hold his hands. Don't let him pull the tube." Caleb's eyes were wild, darting around the room. The panic of waking up intubated was primal. He bucked against the sheets. "Caleb." Erica's voice cut through the panic. She leaned close, her face inches from his. "It's Doc. Look at me. Eyes on me, Marine." Caleb froze. His eyes locked onto hers, the blue eyes of the woman who had pulled him from hell 10 years ago. He blinked. Tears welled up in the corners of his eyes. "You're safe," Erica whispered. "You're in Seattle. I had to cut your throat to get air in. You can't talk. Do you understand? Squeeze my hand. Caleb squeezed her hand. His grip was weak, but it was there. Erica looked at the monitor. He was breathing over the machine. His oxygen was 100%. He's ready, Erica said. Extubate. We need an anesthesiologist, Mrs. Gable said nervously. We should call Dr. Thorne. No time, Erica said. She looked at Gray. Dr. Gray, do you want to learn how to do this properly? Gray flinched. He looked at the tube, then at Erica. He swallowed hard. Stand back, Erica said. She wasn't asking. With practiced, gentle hands, Erica deflated the cuff. Caleb, on 3, I want you to cough. 1, 2, 3. She pulled the tube. Caleb heaved, coughing violently. Blood and mucus splattered onto Erica's scrubs, but she didn't flinch. She placed a sterile gauze over the stoma in his neck. Breathe, she commanded. Nice and easy. Caleb sucked in a breath. It was raspy, wet, and painful. But it was air. He lay back against the pillows, his chest heaving. The room watched in awe. After a moment, Caleb turned his head. He looked at the board chairman. He looked at the terrified Mrs. Gable. He looked at Dr. Gray, who was shrinking into the corner. Then he looked at Erica. He tried to speak. His voice was a ruined whisper, barely a croak. Top, he wheezed. Don't talk, Erica said gently. Caleb shook his head. He pushed himself up on his elbows. Sir, you need to lie down, Miller said, stepping forward. Caleb waved him off. With agonizing slowness, the wounded captain swung his legs over the side of the bed. The hospital gown hung loosely on his battered frame. Captain, please, Mrs. Gable cried out. You're critical. Caleb ignored her. He planted his feet on the cold floor. He swayed, dizziness washing over him. Erica stepped in to catch him, but he held up a hand. No. He needed to do this alone. He stood up. He was taller than everyone in the room. He was covered in bandages. His chest heaved with every breath, and blood was seeping through the dressing on his neck. He turned to face Erica. Erica stood at attention. She couldn't help it. It was muscle memory. She straightened her bad leg, ignoring the fire. She pulled her shoulders back. The hospital staff watched confused. Caleb Donovan, the hero of the Middle East, the man who had survived explosions and gunfire, slowly raised his right hand. It wasn't a casual wave. It was a crisp, perfect, slow salute. Colonel. Caleb rasped the word, tearing at his throat. Permission to come aboard. Erica's eyes filled with tears. Her chin trembled. She slowly raised her hand and returned the salute. Permission granted, Captain, she whispered. Caleb held the salute for another second, then his legs gave out. Miller and Erica caught him before he hit the floor, guiding him gently back onto the bed. At ease, Caleb, Erica said, wiping a tear from her cheek. At ease. Caleb closed his eyes, a faint smile on his lips. He was safe. The doc had the watch. The room was silent for a long time. Finally, Mr. Sterling cleared his throat. He turned to Dr. Gray. Dr. Gray, Sterling said, his voice cold as ice. I believe your shift has ended. Permanently. Gray looked up, his face ashen. But Get out, Sterling said. We will be reviewing your conduct regarding Mr. Bulls. Mitchell, excuse me. Colonel Mitchell, and your refusal to listen to superior medical advice. You are suspended pending an investigation into negligence. Gray looked at Erica one last time. He opened his mouth to say something, perhaps an apology, perhaps an insult. But he saw the look in Miller's eyes and decided against it. He turned and walked out of the ICU, his footsteps echoing down the hallway, fading into obscurity. Mrs. Gable looked at Erica nervously. "Colonel, Miss Mitchell, obviously we had no idea. We can offer you the position of charge nurse, or perhaps director of trauma nursing. We can match any salary." Erica adjusted the blanket on Caleb. She checked his vitals one last time. "I don't want to be director," Erica said quietly. "I don't want a desk." "Then what do you want?" Mrs. Gable asked. Erica looked at the young nurses huddled by the door, Jessica and Chloe. They were looking at her with wide, reverent eyes. They weren't looking at a cripple anymore. They were looking at a teacher. "I want to teach," Erica said. "I want to train your residents. I want to teach them that medicine isn't about the degree on the wall. It's about listening. It's about the patient." She looked at Miller, who gave her a nod of approval. "And," Erica added a small smile touching her lips for the first time in years, "I want a chair in the trauma bay. My leg hurts." Mrs. Gable nodded vigorously. "Done. Consider it done." Erica sat back down in her plastic chair next to Caleb. She took his hand again. The storm was over. The rain outside had stopped, and a sliver of sunlight was piercing through the clouds over Seattle. She wasn't just the janitor anymore. She wasn't just the ghost of Kandahar. She was Erica Mitchell, and she had a job to do. Dr. Gray was fired 2 days later. Erica Mitchell refused the offer to become chief of staff. Instead, she stayed in the ER training the next generation of doctors and nurses to look past the charts and see the human beings in front of them. Major Caleb Donovan made a full recovery, and every year on the anniversary of his injury, he sends a bottle of rare scotch to the ER break room with a note for the doc. Erica proved that true leadership isn't about being the loudest voice in the room. It's about being the one who knows what to do when the room goes silent. If you enjoyed this story of justice and redemption, please like this video. It really helps the channel grow. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell icon so you never miss a story. What would you have done if you were Erica? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.